Hi, welcome to LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun. You're listening to the daily Hindu news analysis, and today's date is 8th December 2022. And let's see the important news leads of the day and check out the important aspects. The first news is RBI goes slow on rates, limits increase to 35 basis points. So this brings us that the RBI has raised the policy repo rate by 35 base points or BPS to 6.25%. So it says that the scale down GDP growth hopes for the year to 6.8% to 7.1%. So you should know what you mean by a basis points. 100 basis points equal to 1 percentage point. So when you say 35 BPS, it is 100 basis points is equal to 1 percentage point. And the RBI has retained its inflation projection for 2022 as 6.7%, because earlier you should know that the inflation will ease but stay above the 6% upper tolerance limit set by the RBI. So there is something called as a upper tolerance level, and that was actually at 6%, and now the projection rate inflation projection for 2022 is going to be 6.7%, which is above the 6% tolerance limit. And it also talks about inflation, and you should know what is the impact of the ratios like reverse repo rate according to the change in inflation. And you should know that the RBI has raised the policy repo rate by 35 basis points. And what is retail inflation or core inflation rate? And the RBI also said that you should keep an Arjuna's eye on evolving inflation. So the core inflation rate is the price change of goods and services minus food and energy. So the price of goods and services, because the price of food and energy are very volatile, they may change so quickly that including these categories can give you an inaccurate image of inflation. So core inflation is synonymous to consumer price index less food and energy. So this exclusion make the core inflation rate more accurate. And it also talks about what is repo rate and reverse repo rate. So you should know repo stands for repurchase agreement. So repo is a short term collateral backed borrowing instrument, and the interest rate charged for such borrowing. I'll make more simply. The repo rate is the rate at which RBI lends money to the commercial banks if they face a scarcity of funds. The commercial banks sell government securities and bonds to Reserve Bank of India with an agreement to repurchase the securities from RBI. You can just see in the down picture. Reserve Bank of India gives repo rate means gives lends to banks, and the commercial banks has more money to lend and to give to the borrowers. And the reverse repo, as the name suggests, is an opposite to repo rate. The reverse repo rate is the rate at which Reserve Bank of India borrows funds from commercial banks in the country. So it is the rate at which the commercial banks in India park their excess money with the RBI for a short term. So you can see the above picture. Our Reserve Bank of India gets more deposit from banks, and commercial banks has less cash to fund the borrowers. So this is regarding the repo and reverse repo from GS paper 3 economy perspective. Read it. Moving on, the next is ISRO inks MOU to establish Space Tech Innovation Network. So this brings us an important area. What is Space Tech Innovation Network or SPIN, and what are the main focus areas of SPIN? I'm giving you a mains question for GS paper 3. How can innovative technologies like SPIN bring a paradigm shift in utilizing space application to maximize the economic, social, and environmental benefits for larger society? Discuss. So you should know GS paper 3 space. What is the SPIN? So the ISRO has signed an MOU with Social Alpha, a multi-stage innovation and venture development platform for science startup, to launch Space Startup Innovation Network or SPIN. SPIN is India's first dedicated platform for innovation, curation, and venture development for the space entrepreneurial ecosystem. The space agency said that the tie-up is one of a kind of a public-private collaboration for space industry. This is a very novel partnership for providing further stimulus to India's space reform policy. So, and what are SPIN's main focus areas? So the spin will primarily focus on facilitating space tech entrepreneurs and three different innovation categories like geospatial technology and downstream application, and for technologies for space and mobility, and aerospace material sensors and avionics. So these are the some of the important areas of spin. So read it from GS paper 3 space perspective. Next news is regarding the Kaundinya sanctuary sees a massive shift as all female herd from Tamil Nadu enters Chittoor. So this is important from GS paper 3 biodiversity and conservation. And you should check out this. Where are the forest of Gudiyatam and Pernambatta? So the forest of Gudiyatam and Pernambatta is basically located in Tamil Nadu. And where is the Mudumalai National Park and Annamalai Hills? So the Mudumalai National Park is the located in the Nilgiri Mountains of Tamil Nadu. At a part of this area has been protected since 1940. The national park has been the part of Nilgiri Biosphere Research since 1986 and was declared a tiger reserve together with buffer zone. And Annamalai Hills, known as the Elephant Mountains, are a range of mountains in the southern western Ghats of central Kerala and the border of western Tamil Nadu, which has got the Coimbatore district and Tirupur district in southern India. And you should know where is this. You should know where is Kaundinya Wildlife Sanctuary, because the article talks about the Kaundinya Wildlife Sanctuary. The Kaundinya Wildlife Sanctuary is in Chittoor district of Andhra Pradesh. So the Kaundinya is in Andhra Pradesh. So read more about this from GS paper 3 perspective. Moving on to the next important is the perils of undoing the framework of reservation. It is a editorial section. So it talks about EWS. So what is EWS? The economically weaker section in India is a subcategory of people having an annual family income less than 8 lakhs and who do not belong to the category of SC, ST, OBC or MBC in Tamil Nadu. So recently the Supreme Court of India upheld the 103 constitutional amendment which had introduced 10% reservation for economically weaker section. So it also talks about a survey called as the AIDIS, the IDIS, which is All India Debt and Investment Survey, which shows deepening caste inequality of wealth in India. So aids collect information on physical assets such as land, livestock, buildings, agriculture machinery, transport equipment, etc. So the article talks about all these things, and I've got a question also. I think yes, you should know what is the economically weaker section and how are they performing in India. Moving on is the next important editorial, BIMSTEC as a key to South Asian regional order. The article talks about SARC and how SARC came and how SARC has become a very weak organization and how BIMSTEC should be a future. So this article talks about December 8th is commemorated as today's SARC Day. And 37 years ago, SARC was the intergovernmental organization was established by Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Later on, Afghanistan was also added to SARC. But however, SARC has failed in accomplish most of its objective. And you can see that when you compare it with the ASEAN and Sub-Saharan region organizations, SARC has really failed. And one of the biggest reason you say is Pakistan. Pakistan has really adopted an obstructionist attitude by creating. Whenever SARC is creating a new policy, like say issue on motor vehicles agreement or regional connectivity, Pakistan comes with an obstruction attitude. So, and again, deepening India and Pakistan hostility since 2014, no SARC summit has taken place, leaving the organization completely rudderless and practically dead. And but India in the last few years has been looking at SARC through the lens of Pakistan. And you can also see in the next best scenario, India is also looking forward for BIMSTEC. What do you mean by BIMSTEC? So BIMSTEC is the Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. Again, an intergovernmental organization established in 1997. Out of the 7 members, 5 are from South Asia: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar and Thailand from Southeast Asia. So it again talks about, importantly, Pakistan is not a BIMSTEC member. And the article also talks about how ASEAN is much more better organization than the SARC. And ASEAN has got something called as ASEAN It has also got something related called as ASEAN minus X formula. What is this ASEAN minus X formula? So it's a flexible formula according which allows two or more ASEAN members to initiate negotiations for economic commitment. So two or more members can actually initiate an economic commitment where no country enjoys veto power. So there will not be an obstruction. Like you say that Pakistan, some country like Pakistan can always come up with obstruction. The ASEAN minus X formula gives two or more countries to have an economic integration. So the article talks about having a BIMSTEC minus X formula, which can similarly work. And if the BIMSTEC minus X formula was there, India and Thailand could have conducted a bilateral free trade agreement under the BIMSTEC umbrella. So a good BIMSTEC minus X formula can be a good thing. So this is an important article regarding GS Paper 2 International Relations. And moving on, I have three important questions for you for mains for GS Paper 2 International Relations. How effective is SARC? Is South Asia the weak and least integrated region in the world? Critically analyzed. And India should successfully use the instrument of bilateralism over regionalism to pursue its interest. What is BIMSTEC minus X formula? How can this arrangement create more proactive trade relations between the countries? This is another important question. So moving on to the next important editorial is need for an effective tourist police. That's a very good idea. And having a important tourist police is something that you can definitely have. And the crimes against tourists and other foreign nationals appear to be a rise on India. And the article also talks about what is the NCRB or National Crime Records Bureau. So for every crime committed against foreigners, there would be several others that go unreported. So it is because tourism happens to be one of the India's biggest foreign exchange earners, and the article also talks to have a uniform tourist police scheme at a pan-national level. And let's discuss what is the NCRB. The NCRB is actually Indian government agency responsible for collecting and analyzing crime data as defined by IPC and special local laws. And the NCRB is headquartered in Delhi and is a part of Ministry of Home Affairs. The National Crime Records Bureau was set up in 1986 by merging the Interstate Criminals Data Branch and the Directorate of Coordination and Police Computer (DCPC) and the Central Finger Bureau, Single Center Fingerprints Bureau of CBI. So now the NCRB is merged out of that. So, as a part of the NCRB revolution, the Crime and Criminal Tracking Network System, the CCTNS system, was approved in 2009, and Digital Police Portal was launched in 2017. So, please know all this information regarding GS Paper 2, governance and laws, effective tourist police laws, and also the in organization like NCRB, the government organization, government regulation, etc. And you can also use it for GS Paper 3, cyber related crimes, etc. Next is Ukraine Russia war rages on as refugees pile up. The article shows that more than 15.8 million Ukrainians have been externally displaced, which majority of them have been women. So all of them people have moved on to Germany, Poland, France, Spain, and Czech Republic, and most of the migrants are women in nature. And the article also talks about the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. You can get a prelims question: where is Zaporozhye power plant? The Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is located in the southeastern Ukraine and is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe and among the 10 largest in the world. Know it from GS paper to international relations. Moving on, no plans to conduct recruitment exams only in Hindi. So there is no proposal to conduct recruitment exams held by the SSC only in Hindi. So the medium of examination conducted by SSC is normally in Hindi and English. But recently, paper 2 of multitasking staff examination was conducted in all the languages included in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. And it says that there is no proposal to conduct the examination of SSC only in Hindi. So no from GS paper 2 laws regulation. Next is a reservation for Dalit convert Supreme Court to decide on hearing petitions. This brings out another important aspect of what is Justice KG Balakrishnan Commission. And what is Justice KG Balakrishnan Commission and also the Constitution Schedule Caste Order 1950. And the government argues that Dalits who had converted to Christianity or Islam to overcome caste oppression cannot return to claim reservation, because the Justice Balakrishnan Commission is a three-member commission headed by Justice KG Balakrishnan, a former Chief Justice, to consider possibility of granting scheduled caste status to new persons who have historically belonged to scheduled caste but converted to religions other than Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, which is Islam and Christianity. Because the constitutional scheduled caste order in 1950 stipulates that no person professing a religion different from Hinduism, Sikhism, or Buddhism can be deemed to a member of scheduled caste. So it's a very difficult proposition. Anybody previously, according to the Constitution Schedule Act Order 1950, only Hindus, any person belonging to profess Hinduism were deemed, and later on, Sikhs and Buddhists were added. So it is going to be a really tough thing to add this concept. So GS paper 2, polity, governance, and law. Next is bill to amend cooperative societies introduced in Lok Sabha. So this brings us to a larger question. What are multi-state cooperative societies? The multi-state cooperative societies received President's assent on 3rd July 2002 and came to be known as Multi-State Cooperative Society Act 2002. So it is an act to consolidate and amend laws relating to cooperative society. So what is cooperative societies? Cooperative societies are very important for the root level, grassroots level of society. And the law was relating to cooperative societies with the object of not limiting to one state, have the operation in more than one state where different individuals and people in different states can actually benefit. That is multi-state. So the act also talks about having a strong multi-state cooperative society act, uh, need to have a more strong monitoring system, more governance system, and which includes more financial transparency, and also promote equity, like having more women and scheduled caste, scheduled tribe people into the board members. So they want to make multi-state cooperative societies better. And in this picture you can see there are different type of cooperative societies, like different type of, like, producers cooperative society, consumers producers cooperative society, cooperative marketing society, cooperating housing society, and even cooperative farming society. So know all these articles in this regard. Moving on, Supreme Court directs RBI to submit documents before demonetization. GS paper 2 law, and also justice, and also GS paper 3 economy. Supreme Court asked the Union Government and Reserve Bank of India to place on record the relevant records of 2016 demonetization policy. The court said it will not sit a mute spectator, and the procedure in which 500 and 1,000 currency notes were pulled back. Just because it is an economic policy doesn't mean that Supreme Court will fold its hands and be a mute spectator. It will keep discussing. And it also talks about an important area called as judicial review. What is judicial review? GS paper 2. So judicial review refers to the power of judiciary to review and determine the validity of a law and order. So judicial review is defined as that doctrine under which executive and legislative actions are reviewed by the judiciary. So the judicial review is considered a basic structure of the constitution. In the Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan case, it is very important. Moving on, a collective effort is needed for a productive session, says Modi. So the Modi has appealed to all parties to give first-time MPs a chance to take part in debates. And he said G20 summit in 2023 was not merely a diplomatic event, it was a chance to showcase India's power and capacity to the world. So GS paper 2, governance, law, etc. And India will build consensus within G20 and global issues. This article talks about an important aspect regarding the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. What do you mean by the Shanghai Cooperation Organization? You should know. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization is an intergovernmental organization comprising of 8 members, was founded in 2001. The 8 members includes China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. So obviously India and Pakistan are member of Shanghai Corporation, and 4 observer states like Afghanistan, Belarus, Iran, and Mongolia, and 6 dialogue partners: Armenia, Azerbaijan, Cambodia, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, and Turkey. So this is the SEO. And in 2007, India became a full-time member of Shanghai Corporation. So know about what is SEO, GS Paper 2, International Relations. Moving, India will not tolerate any unilateral attempts to change line of actual control. So this brings us GS Paper 2, International Relations. What is the concept of an LAC, or line of actual control? So the line of actual control was actually in the context of China-India border, is a demarcation line that separates Indian controlled territory from Chinese controlled territory. Just like line of control, it's different than line of control. The concept was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru, and when the Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai in 1959 wrote a letter to Nehru, but Nehru rejected that letter. Now you can see the line of actual control is divided into three sectors: the western sector between Ladakh and the Tibet and Xinjiang autonomous regions of China. And it was the site where 2020 China India problems happened, the western sector, and the middle sector between Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh on the Indian side, and the Tibet autonomous region on the Chinese side. And the eastern sector means the Arunachal Pradesh on the Indian side and Tibet region on the Chinese side. And this is what is where the McMahon line has in the eastern sector. So this is line of actual control. Know in detail about this. Next is UGC forms a panel to work on textbooks on Indian language. So the UGC has conducted a meeting with international publishers to discussing bringing out textbooks for undergraduate courses in Indian languages. It's a very good initiative for the regional people. So it brings us important aspect regarding what is UGC. What is the UGC, or University Grants Commission? It's a you can see that under the Ministry of Human Resource Development and affiliated with the Ministry of Higher Education. The commission was established in 1945 to manage and supervise all the operations of three central universities like Delhi, Banaras, and Aligarh. In 1947, the duties were expanded to include all the Indian universities. So, proposal to replace with a new regulatory body called HECI is under consideration. So, know what is UGC, and it's also important in this regard. GS Paper 2, Education. Next is Center asks Google to stop publishing online betting ads. So this brings us to an important area called what is online betting ads, and the Information and Broadcasting Ministry has asked Google to comply with its advisory to refrain from publishing or broadcasting advertisement of online betting platforms or any surrogate products. So that brings us another question. I'll give you a mains question. What is surrogate advertisement? Right, how it can be controlled, while mentioning the Prevention of Misleading Advertisements and Endorsement for Misleading Advertisements Act 2022. So what is Prevention of Misleading Advertisements and Endorsement for Misleading Advertisement 2022 under the Consumer Protection Act? So simply, surrogate advertisement referred to a form of advertisement that duplicates the brand image of one product to promote another product of the same brand. Like you can just see, I can give you an example like the most sold products are gutka, alcohol, and betting apps, website in the disguise of another product. So it is a form of duplicate the brand image of one product to promote another product of the same brand. Like you can see, like club soda or mineral water in the case of alcohol. One alcohol making company can actually market club soda or mineral water, where automatically promoting alcohol is actually not supported. So the same alcoholic brand can actually come up with a soda or a mineral water. So that is actually called as surrogate advertisement. And there is Prevention of Misleading Advertisement and Endorsement Misleading Advertisement 2022. It is coming under the Central Consumer Protection Authority, CCPA, under the Department of Consumer Affairs. So it's very important to know about this in GS paper 2, law related one, GS paper 3, media and technology. So this is surrogate advertisement, and what do you mean by this act? So plan to install 500 gigawatt of renewable energy of by 2030. So that is a very good thing. India is planning to install 500 gigawatt of renewable energy, and it also talks about something called what is Central Electricity Authority and what is offshore wind power. Central Electricity Authority is actually the advising the government on policy matters relating to development of electricity. It is a statutory organization constituted under the Electricity Supply Act of 1948, which has been superseded by the Electricity Act 2003. So all the important majority of the Central Power Engineering Service is selected by the officers of Indian Engineering Service. And under the Electricity Act 2020 to 2003, the Central Electricity Authority prescribes the standards on matters such as construction of electrical plants, electrical lines, connectivity grid installation and operation of meters, safety grid standards, etc. So you should know that the article talks about offshore wind power. What is offshore wind power? The offshore wind power is nothing but the generation of electricity to wind farms in bodies of water, usually sea. So it's electricity generation in through wind farms in located in water such as sea. The higher wind speeds in offshore technology is actually a good thing and are less controversial. So that is a good thing of offshore wind power. What do you mean by that? So GS paper 3, clean energy, and new non-fossil fuel generation centers are going to come in Fatehgarh, Bhadla, Bikaner, Khavda, Anantapur and Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh. So read this article. And Ukraine Zelensky is named as a person of year in Time magazine. That's a cool thing. Zelensky is given the Time magazine's person of the year. India plans to build more nuclear power plants, GS paper 3 energy, and this is regarding GS paper 2 international relations. And the IRDAI. So there is before that one more article that I really missed out was regarding the article of the International Labor Organization. Big industries do not observe uniform labor standards. So recently happening International Labor Organizations, ARPM, the Asian Pacific Regional Meeting, said that big industry do not follow labor standards. This also talks about the 4 labor codes initiated by India. So what are the 4 labor codes? The 4 labor codes have replaced 29 labor laws, and it says that 90% of India's 50 crore workers are in the unorganized sectors. And the 4 labor codes are codes on wages, codes on industrial relations, social security code, and occupational safety, health and working conditions code. So they are the 4 labor codes. Please do remember that. And what is IRDAI? It talks about IRDAI, nothing but GS paper 2 regulatory body. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority is an autonomous and statutory body which is responsible for managing, regulating insurance and reinsurance industry in India. It is a 10 IRDAI is a 10-member body, a chairman and 5 full-time members and 4 part-time members. It was constituted under Act of Parliament in 1999, and the agency is located in Hyderabad. So in 1950, the government of India nationalized LIC, and in the 1990s, the government decided to open the insurance sector to the private players also. So know this about IRDAI. The RBI has tweaked UPI will help in e-com share purchases. So this is regarding the RBI said that it would add a feature in the UPI platform. A new feature will be added in the UPI platform to aid payments where delivery of goods and services happen later, like e-commerce purchases and hotel bookings or investments. So it has been decided to introduce a single block and multiple debit functionality in UPI, which will significantly enhance the ease of making payments in e-commerce space. A customer could create a payment mandate against a merchant by blocking funds in his or her bank, which can be debited when it is needed. So it also talks about a very important concept. What is Bharat Bill Payment System, or BBPS? You can see the benefits. This can be a prelims question where they can ask you, what is a Bharat Bill Payment System? You can see that BPPS will be an integrated platform connecting banks and non-banks in bills aggregation, and it is very accessible. It has the integration. The clearing and settlement is fast, and you can see it has a standard rules, very convenient and reliable service with high degree of trust and security. So, would know what you mean by Bharat Bill Payments and RBI mandated systems, which offers integrated and interoperable bill payment system. So this is regarding GS paper 3 economy. Know from this perspective. Moving on to what is called as the ESMA row. What do you mean by the ESMA row? What do you mean by ESMA? ESMA means European Securities and Markets Authority. It is basically creating to the safeguarding the stability of European Union's financial system by enhancing the protection of investors. So ESMA is an independent authority accountable to the European institutions, including to the European Parliament. So the next question comes: why did European Securities and Markets Authority, ESMA, and the UK de-recognize Indian clearing houses? So the Indian clearing houses were de-recognized. Why did they de-recognize the Indian clearing houses? So you should know this in this regard. Next is pharma, chemicals, iron, steel gets RODTEP boost. So this brings us GS paper 3 economy. As what do you mean by the RODTEP scheme? So the RODT scheme stands for Remission of Duties and Taxes on Export Products. It is a new scheme that is applicable with effect from January 1st, 2021 to replace the existing MEIS, Merchandise Exports from India scheme. So the scheme will ensure that the exporters receive the refunds on the tax and duties previously non-recoverable. So the scheme will definitely make the exporters receive the refunds. So the RODTEP scheme has the India's export momentum hit by waning global demand. You can just see this reporting. So this is what is meant by the RODTEP scheme, and this is from GS paper 3 economy perspective. Moving on is don't create fear psychosis on CBDC privacy concerns. So this brings us to a very important concept called as what is a central bank digital currency. So a CBDC, or central bank digital currency, is a digital form of currency notes issued by a central bank. While most central banks across the globe are exploring the issuance of CBDC, the key motivations for the issuance are specific to each country. Each country has different rules and regulations regarding the CBDC. But the Reserve Bank of India defines CBDC as the legal tender issued by a central bank in a digital form. So there are different features of CBDC, like CBDC is a sovereign currency issued by central bank, and it appears as a liability on the central bank's balance sheet, and it must be accepted as a medium of payment. It should be a legal tender and a safe store of value by all citizens. It's freely convertible against commercial bank money and cash. The fungible legal tender for which holders need not have a bank account, and expected to lower the cost of issuance of money and transaction. So the CBDC is going to be very, very important regard in this regard. So please read it from GS paper 3 economy, digital currency, etc. So these are some of the most important news leads of the day. So keep listening to LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun. Subscribe the channels and get more such news analysis on this.